Private Limited, Hyderabad from May 2013 to October 2015. Also, he worked as an operations scientist at Quintiles Technologies Private Limited, Bangalore from 2008 to April 2013. So he has got many recognitions and rewards to his credit. Well, out of that, few are here. One is the No More Tears Award issued by Johnson & Johnson in association with Global Quintiles Operations for Above and Beyond work. He also received a Case Processor of the Month, received award as the Best Case Processor of the Month 3 times for extraordinary work on project deliverables. He also received recognition and reward from higher management for being a part of MHRA inspection and took a role as SME for clinical trial cases. Above and Beyond Award again he received from Novartis for contribution in an audit without affecting the day-to-day business activities. Sir has got many publications and presentations to his credit. Few are a publication, Kunjunur and Parthasarathy Adverse Drug Reactions leading to hospital admissions, a prospective study drug safety in the year 2013. He presented a poster entitled Adverse Drug Reactions leading to hospital admissions, a prospective study in 30th International Conference on Pharmacoepidemiology on and therapeutic risk assessment held at Taipei, Taiwan in the year 2014. He was a guest lecturer on Introduction to PV at Harapanalli College of Pharmacy in the year 2010. He is invited as a keynote speaker on case handling process in drug safety unit at a national conference on pharmacoeconomics, vigilance and meta-analysis held at Warangal, Andhra Pradesh. He was a keynote speaker on industrial aspects of pharmacovigilance at a seminar on PV and medical writing held at Mallige College of Pharmacy, Bangalore. He was invited as a keynote speaker on brand and generic medicines basic concepts held at Classic Study Center. Apart from this, he is a regular guest speaker in our college. I would like to inform all our delegates, apart from all these achievements, he is also very well recognized person in Kannada literature. He has received many awards. Out of that, some state awards are also he has received, and he has written many storybooks and poem books in Kannada literature. With this brief introduction, I welcome you, sir, for today's session. Um, if you want to speak anything,
Sure.
yeah.
Thanks so much, Bhuvana, for that very good welcome for me. So this makes my morning very happy. So I thank personally to the Kelly College of Pharmacy, Belagavi, for always having me on seat for any seminars or the conferences. So you were always there. So, and with this, I'm glad that I'm in front of you and speaking on the pharmacovigilance audits and inspections in this QIP program. And I thank everyone who is attending this QIP program, and they make maximum benefit out of this and take some keynotes from this presentation. So I welcome you all and wish you a very good morning. And thank you so much, Bhuvana.
Welcome. You can start the presentation.
Sure. So today we are going to discuss about pharmacovigilance audits and inspection. So before going into the audits and inspections, so let us understand what is pharmacovigilance first. You may be studied in your colleges or in your company or anywhere what is pharmacovigilance, but just let me touch upon the base of definition of pharmacovigilance section. So pharmacovigilance is a science and activities which involves adverse drug reactions, identification, their reporting, their assessment, and reporting of all these adverse drug reactions to particular health authorities, and how these adverse drug reactions are prevented in future. So this is what all about the pharmacovigilance, and it mainly talks about the adverse drug reactions of medicines which are used in the human. So apart from this, we have adverse drug reactions differentiated into serious and non-serious adverse drug reactions depending on their severity. And we have a timeline of reporting all these adverse drug reactions to health authorities. That is the obligation that all the marketing authorization holders who are manufacturing or marketing the medicinal product, so they should be getting the adverse drug reactions, and in turn they'll be reporting it to health authorities. And depending upon their seriousness, like serious and non-serious cases, so there are reporting timeline of 7 days and the 15 days. That means the death cases should be reported within 7 days to the health authorities, and all other serious cases should be reported in 15 days, and any non-serious cases should be reported in 90 days. So with this, every organization, suppose for say any pharmaceutical company or any contract research organization who is running a pharmacovigilance unit within it, so there are multiple or various activities will be conducted within it. Like they will be receiving the adverse drug reaction reports, and how this adverse drug reaction report is carried out within that department, how these reports are entered onto safety database, how these reports are assessed, and how these reports are reported to health authorities. So they will be having a system within to manage all these adverse drug reactions, and how these adverse drug reactions are carried out in a day-to-day activities. So any organization or any system who is running on particular business or on particular activity should be having a system in place. That means how it is to be run. Like for a practical, we'll be having some manuals, right? So depending on that manual, we'll be conducting some practicals. So that manual shows us how to conduct a particular thing or an activity. Okay. So in any pharmaceutical company or any contract research organization, so there are pharmacovigilance systems, and for these pharmacovigilance systems, they will be having some standard operating procedures in place, how to conduct the pharmacovigilance activities in a day-to-day practice. So with that, we'll be learning how these audits and inspections are very important for any pharmacovigilance system. So in that regard, we have the agenda which is set to understand what is the difference between an audit or the inspection, and what is actually inspection, and what are the types of inspection or the audits. And then we'll see which are the areas are reviewed during the audits or the inspections, and then how these audits and inspections are conducted, and post audit or inspection, so what is the procedure to go through. And yeah, we'll have a question answer session in the end. But before that, if you have any questions or anything, so please stop me anywhere and you can ask me a question. Okay, so let's start with understanding between what is an audit or what is an inspection. So we might have heard these two terms many a times, but we should really understand what is the key between these two. So the whole purpose of conducting any audit or interview inspection is to understand or to review any company or system. This is to review, like you might be hearing this from your school days also, like there'll be an inspection to the school. So why somebody inspects a school or any company for that matter? is to review whether when there is a system is ongoing, whether that system is conducting regular activities according to set practices or standard practices or not. So that has to be reviewed by a third party, or the person who is not knowing this but he's inspecting whether the the system is conducted in a particular format or not. So that is the whole purpose of conducting this audit or inspection. So in real sense, in the pharmaceutical industries, we talk about audits and inspections very often because these are very important, and any person who is working in the industry should understand the differences and the importance of these two. So inspections are mainly conducted by health authorities or any competent authorities, like health authorities per se, any FDA, EMA, or MHRA, or any health authorities. Okay, so when it is conducted by them, so we call it as inspection. And when internal persons, suppose per se, we will have internal team, which is we also call it as quality assurance team. When they conduct a review of the system, then it is called as audit. Okay, so this is the key difference between audit and the inspection. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so there are some guidelines which talks about what are the pharmacovigilance audits and the inspection, which are recorded in the EMA's, European Medicines Agency's website. So this talks about what are the components of audits and the inspection, how these are conducted and managed. So this is the reference to that. And next slide, please. Yeah. So next we'll see what are the types of inspection. So there are mainly two types of inspections which are conducted by the health authority or the regulatory authority. One is the routine inspection, and the other one is for cause inspection. So as the name itself says, the routine inspection is the routine inspection which is conducted on a set time frame, like every year or every 6 months or every quarter. So there is a timeline set for conducting this inspection. So that is the routine inspection. So these routine inspections are mainly conducted based on the system, because there is a pharmacovigilance system in a company, and these inspections are carried out in a different time frames. So every year or every 2 years or something like that. And they can also conduct routine inspection when there is a product or trial specific data is there, when there is a trial going on in any particular company or in any hospital. So these inspections can be carried out on a routine basis. And during the pre-authorization and during post-authorization, so these routine inspections can be conducted, and there can be a re-inspection because the previous inspection is not complete, or if there are any findings, if there are any significant findings in the previous inspection, so this re-inspections can be carried out on a routine basis. And there is a for cause inspection. So as the name says, for cause inspection, there is a cause to conduct the inspection because there is something not good or which is not going in a proper way in a system. So there is a trigger for conducting the inspection. So that is called as for cause inspection. So we'll just see in a further slides about that. So these routine inspections are scheduled in advance as part of an inspection program. So this is a very much planned and very much well prepared routine inspections. They are scheduled in advance. So there will be an agenda what to be looked at, and the regulatory authorities will inform the pharmaceutical companies about they are going to conduct an inspection well before, like they can be 1 month or 2 months before. They'll inform the companies saying that we'll be conducting an interview or inspection, and there'll be no specific trigger to conduct this, because as it says routine inspection, it's a routine one, so there is no specific trigger. But authorities use a risk-based approach to determine timing. So what is risk-based approach? Suppose, for say, there is a trial going on, and there is some product marketing authorization is going on. So, and if there is a risk to the product, or there is a risk which is occurring on the public, saying that there are some serious adverse events are ongoing, so that triggers the risk on that product, and these regulatory authorities may conduct a risk-based approach. Like, for say, some 2-3 companies are running a trial, and for one company, their trial is having some risk. That means that product is triggering some serious adverse events. So that may trigger a routine inspection first, and then conducted other companies on following that risk. So this prioritization of conducting routine inspections are also conducted on the risk-based approach. And usually a system, so routine inspections can be carried out usually on the system, but specific products or trials may be targeted. So this is usually like they'll do a routine inspection on whole system, whole pharmacovigilance system, including their daily activities, how they are conducted, and how it is managed in the safety database, and how they are reported to health authorities. So there is a system, and this routine inspection may look at the whole system as a thing to inspect. Next slide, please. Yeah. So now, so what is for inspections? So we'll just understand what triggers them to conduct these inspections. So we have looked at it, looking at there can be a risk-based approach depending on a particular product or the trial, which can trigger an inspection. But this is not the only thing that can trigger the inspection. There can be some other things which are listed out here. Maybe the MH has not previously been inspected. The MH is marketing authorization holder or any pharmaceutical company which is not previously inspected by a health authority, and now they are going to conduct the inspection. Or the MH has placed their first product on the market. Now any pharmaceutical company who have now placed their product on the market for the first time, and the health authority is going to inspect that. Or the MH has recently been or is involved in a merger or takeover process. So this is very usual thing to happen in any pharmacovigilance, the pharmaceutical companies. There can be a merger of two companies, and there is an involvement of taking over the other processes. So these are very common, and if there is any something happens like merger or involvement of the taking over other company, so that also triggers the inspection. Or the MH has changed their system significantly. That means they have implemented a new database system, or they have changed their contracting out of reporting activities, or they have appointed a new QPPV. QPPV is a qualified person for pharmacovigilance who is appointed in the European region. So if there is any change in reporting of all these, like there can be implementation of new database system, or when they are outsourcing any activities, pharmacovigilance activities. So if there is if they have changed it to some other companies contracting, so that can also trigger the inspection. And there can be a GVP compliance report. So this is again UK specific, but if there are any compliance report, that means compliance is one where we talked about reporting of adverse drug reactions to health authorities. So if there are any late reports, or if there are any reports which are not reported to health authorities, so this will affect the compliance of the product or the pharmacovigilance system, which may also trigger the inspection. So these are kind of routine inspections. So now we look at what are the for cause inspections. So as it says, for cause, there is a cause to conduct the inspection for a particular pharmacovigilance system. So now we'll understand for cause inspections occur as a result something like there is a significant risk benefit balance of the product. There is a significant change in the risk benefit balance. So what is risk benefit? Risk is assessed on the basis of adverse drug reactions happening on the particular product. And what are benefits? So benefit is it is assessed based on the efficacy of a product. So we know we assess the efficacy and safety of a product all the time. So these two components determine the risk and the benefit of the product. Suppose per se, when there are significant adverse drug reactions are happening on a particular trend, like there are serious adverse drug reactions happening in a row, and the benefit is going down. Okay, so that time, so there is a significant change in the benefit risk balance. So that can also trigger for cause inspection. And if there are any delays or failure to identify or communicate risk, or a change in the risk benefit balance, so this can happen when you identify that there is a greater risk on the public health because of particular product, and any company failure to identify this, and they won't communicate it to health authorities or to the public, saying that for our product, so there are some adverse drug reactions are happening like this. So this communication is lacking, and it is not reported to health authorities or to the public. So when there is a failure like this, so that can also trigger an for cause inspection. And it can also be because of communication of information on safety concerns to the public without notification. Suppose we talked about not informing the health authority or the public, but it can be in other way also, like there is a important safety concern to the public when they are telling it to the public but not telling it to the health authority. So that miscommunication will also trigger the for cause inspection. And there could be non-compliance or product safety issues identified during the monitoring of PV. So this non-compliance, as I said, when there is the reporting is not happening within the set time frame, that 7 days or 15 days timeline, when there is delays in reporting the adverse drug reactions to health authorities, so that can also uh, trigger the inspection. And there could be suspension or product withdrawal without advance notice. So when there is when a pharmaceutical company, they themselves take a decision to suspend or withdraw the product from the market without any advance notice to the health authority or to the public, so that can also trigger inspection. So, and there can be reporting obligations. Like I said, we have to report all the adverse reactions to health authorities. So there can be delays or omissions in reporting. There can be delay or late reporting to health authorities, or they will not report itself. So there can be omissions in reporting, or there are poor quality or incomplete reports like PSC or PADERS or any aggregate reports. So if there are incomplete or having a poor quality reports written and submitted to health authorities, so that can also be a for cause inspection. And if there are any inconsistencies between reports and other information sources, if there are any inconsistencies, like uh, suppose per se, when there are literature cases or any clinical trial cases, so if there are inconsistencies in reporting, like clinical trial cases should be processed in a particular format depending on any particular standard operating procedure. But if there are any inconsistencies when reporting a particular cases, so that can also trigger the inspection. So these are some of the reporting obligations when there is significant change or delays or omissions or anything. So that can also trigger the for cause inspection. And now there can be requests from competent authorities. So what are competent authorities? So these are independent authorities depending on the country specific health authorities. Suppose per se, the German health authority or Bulgarian health authority or Algeria or Denmark or anything. So we have regulatory authorities, FDA, EMA, and MHRA. So these are the regulatory authorities, and within European system, within EMA, so there are country-specific health authorities. So these are called as competent authorities. They can be requests from competent authorities when there is a failure to provide requested information or data, and if there is a poor quality or inadequate provision of data to fulfill requests for information. So these can also cause the trigger the for cause inspection. Next slide, please. Okay, and there can be a fulfillment of commitments. So this is very important because a pharmaceutical company may have committed with something, like if there are any safety concerns for a product, and they might have company might have committed saying that we conduct some risk management plan where we look at the product safety so that these happening of adverse drug reactions are minimized or they are monitored on a regular basis. So this commitment to the health authorities, they commit something in the initially, and if they don't conduct that monitoring activities on a particular product safety, so that can also concerns about the status or fulfillment of their risk management plan. So this risk management plan is a prior commitment to the health authority saying that we will manage these safety concerns or the risks on a particular product, and we try to minimize those. So that is the commitment with the health authority. So when there are any concerns or when company fails to do that, so that also triggers the inspection. Or if there are delays or failure to carry out specific obligations relating to the monitoring of product safety identified at the time of marketing authorization. And obviously, if there are any poor quality reports or requested as specific obligations, so that can also trigger the for cause inspection. So now, for cause inspection, maybe if there are any delays in the implementation or inappropriate implementation of corrective and preventive action. Suppose an for cause inspection has been conducted previously, and if there are any findings from that inspection and companies might have not reported, or there were some delays in reporting the corrective and preventive action of those findings, so that can also trigger. And information such as non-compliance or product safety issues from other types of inspection. Suppose, for say, uh, if there is an inspection conducted on the GMP, that means good manufacturing processes, practices, or if there are inspections conducted on the GLP, good laboratory practices. So when there is an inspection conducted on a different system within that company, but there are some findings which are related to the product safety, and if there is a non-compliance on these also can trigger the for cause inspection. And then inspection information received from other authorities. Suppose for say FDA has found out something, and EMA might also get triggered, saying that, oh, okay, FDA has identified some significant issue on a particular product safety. So then that can also trigger the for cause inspection to some other regulatory authority. And we have seen that drug can also cause the trigger the inspection or the product's safety or trial, or if there is a miscommunication. Okay, so now there can be other things as well, like if there is a concern following the review of pharmacovigilance uh, master file. So this pharmacovigilance system master file is it talks about the whole pharmacovigilance system within any organization. So if there are any concerns over that, so that can also trigger. And non-inspection related information received from other authorities, which may highlight issues of non-compliance. Okay, and if there are any media alerts, so if any media, suppose in any TV interview or in the newspaper or anywhere, if there is an alert which is raised from the public or the consumers, so that can also trigger the inspection. And if there are any other sources of information or complaints, can be in a social media, suppose to say in the Facebook or in the YouTube channel, somebody raises a concern. So if that is genuine concern, or that's the same concern about the product safety, that can also trigger the inspection. So what are the timing of inspection? So this is a very tricky question. Like they won't be any timing. Okay, so these cannot be set for a particular time, but majority of inspections are scheduled in advance. Like these are the routine inspections. Like it can be um, conducted in within a year or within 6 months, or so that is scheduled in advance. So these are routine inspections. So they can be unannounced or short notice inspections. So these are called as for cause inspections, because there is some significant concern over the product safety or the trial safety. So then that can trigger the inspection, and immediately regulatory authorities will start conducting the inspection. So these are called as for cause inspections, which always go on the short notice inspection. Next slide, please. So now, what are the unannounced and short notice audit or inspection? So in the case of any unannounced or short notice audit or inspection, the employee who becomes aware of this, so should immediately contact the quality assurance team. So who is normally within any pharmaceutical company or pharmacovigilance system. So there will be a quality assurance team who always manages or conduct the whole audit or the inspection in a proper format. So that department should be immediately notified of any audit or inspection. Usually it will be notified immediately when there is an inspection or audit, or suppose if any employee of the company becomes first aware of this audit or inspection, should immediately report it to quality assurance team. And the person should immediately report saying that is it an audit or inspection. So that should be clearly stated, whether it's an internal audit or it's an external inspection from the health authority, and who is the auditor or inspector, and which customer they are auditing or inspecting or representing. So what is their agenda, and what is the purpose of this audit or inspection. So if the person knows that, so that with all this information, that should be reported to quality assurance team first. And now the inspectors. So these inspectors are very tricky in handling, because they are trained in interviewing on and interrogating the interviewees. So they'll be trained on that with various techniques. So these inspectors may be very well relaxed sometimes, non-accusing or conversational in a question and answer session, and they can be very friendly in asking the questions. They ask the questions very friendly, and you feel like you're not getting interviewed also. They're very friendly in talking, and they try to gain maximum information from you. And they can be interrogation also from some people. Like these can be like accusatory or monologue or comfort that guilt. If I can give you an example, some inspector asks you some question like, what is the timeline of reporting serious adverse drug reaction to health authorities? Okay, and you know the answer, and you tell that, okay, there are 7 days and the 15 days to report it to health authorities. And they'll suddenly pause. They won't tell anything, and they start looking at you very strangely, so that you feel a guilt of, okay, did I say wrong or right? Is that answer is right? So you feel that guilt within you, and you start murmuring something else and try to give an extra information. So from that, they start digging into the questions more. So inspectors are trained on that, on interrogating something, so which is and they try to gain more and more information which you give. And also, often they ask questions and they already know answers to, or ask the same question to different people. Suppose they call 2 3 people at a time for inspection, and they ask the same question to different people, and they won't express any feeling or emotion on their face, but they ask the same question to different people and try to extract different answers from the people. Because when there are different answers from the people, that means there is a concern within the system itself, so that they want to identify. And they're attuned to verbal and non-verbal communication to help evaluate truthfulness. So as I give an example of giving pauses within the when you give an answer, they'll suddenly pause and don't say anything, and they just start staring at you and look at you whether you're confident on your answer or not. They to evaluate the truthfulness or the confidence whether you have answered it correctly or not. So when inspection is done, so there are grades on the inspection. Yeah, you can move next, please. Yeah, when the inspection is done, or when there are some findings which are on particular system, there are mainly 3 types of grades are available. One is critical, major, and the minor. So we will understand what are these three. What is critical, major, and the minor finding. So critical is the one where a fundamental weakness in the PV process or practice that adversely affect the whole PV system, or the rights, safety, or well-being of patients, or that poses a potential risk to the public health and or represents a serious violation of applicable legislation and guidelines. So this can be a critical findings on a particular pharmacovigilance system. And there is a major finding where there is a significant weakness in PV process or practice, a fundamental weakness in part of these that is detrimental to the whole process and or could potentially adversely affect the rights, safety, or well-being of patients, and or could potentially pose a risk to public health and or represents a violation of applicable legislation and guidelines, which is however not considered as serious. So in critical, we have seen all these uh, serious hazards on the public health where there is a serious problem on the public health. But so that is critical. In major, there is a violation of something, but that has not been considered as very serious on the public health. And they can be finding of minor, where there is a weakness in the part of PV process or practice that is not expected to adversely affect the whole PV system or process and or the rights, safety or well-being of patients. So there is something going wrong within the system, but that is not adversely affecting the patients or the public health. So that is the minor finding. So now we talked about the types of inspections and what are for cause inspection and routine inspection and how inspectors act and what are the major critical and minor findings. So now we understand what is audit. So audits, as I said, like it is conducted within the system, or they can be external auditor also, which are hired by the company. So it is a systematic, disciplined, independent, and documented process for obtaining audit evidence and evaluating it objectively to determine the extent to which the audit criteria are fulfilled. So these are often like they are conducted on a particular time frame, like for every year or in a 6 monthly basis. So they will be conducted within the organization. So again, as I said, there can be an internal audit and there can be external audit also. So these external audits are conducted by the consultants or any external auditors where the companies can contract to. So the external auditors are partner or the client, or there are prospective partner or the client, and internal audit will be conducted on the full system or specific areas or the processes. So internal auditors may conduct audits on the particular process if there is something going wrong. So they can specifically look at it and conduct the audit. Next slide, please. The external audits, their main objective is to assess the if there is any outsourced work or services are being conducted to meet contractual obligation, and to assess if the system meets PV obligations. And they can be conducted on due diligence or pre-vendor audits are common in this. So what is due diligence audit is when there is an audit is conducted on a particular system, and if they want to conduct a follow-up audit on that, so that's a due diligence. And if there are any third-party vendor who have given us a safety database, uh, or if they have implemented some system into a particular pharmacovigilance system, so then they can be an vendor audit conducted on for a particular system or anything is implemented in the system. And internal audits are a key part of PV quality management system, because for any pharmacovigilance system, this quality management system is very important to conduct, because whatever we report to health authorities, so that should be of good quality, because any poor quality system or any poor quality report will cause the will trigger the for cause inspection. So that any quality management system, a proper quality management system should be there in the pharmacovigilance. So, and these are always a quality assurance team conducting the internal audit and are essential way to ensure that the quality management system meets its objectives all the time. And companies need to establish a risk-based internal audit schedule. They can be risk-based also, because if quality assurance team within an organization identifies that there is something which is not going according to the standard operating process, so that can also become a risk-based approach. And internal audits may be conducted by appropriately qualified personnel or may be completed by a contractor. And these are often done as a part of inspection preparation. I'll just take a pause here. I'll be back in a minute. Sorry for that. Uh, yeah, sorry. Let's continue on the audits and the inspections. And now, when we understood the differences and the types of audits and inspection, so now when there is an audit or inspection is going on, so what are the areas they'll review? So they can review the contractual agreements with any other companies or the systems, and they'll mainly review standard operating procedures or the guidelines within the organization or management, and what is the compliance rate with the contract or regulations or SOPs or the protocol or guidelines. So what is the compliance when they say they are having a standard operating procedure in place? So how effectively that is conducted? So that is what is compliant, and they'll just look at the compliance reports, and they'll look at the organizational charts, how many departments are there, and who are the people reporting to whom, and what are the key individuals in particular activity. And they'll also look at the training records of people, the how much the people are trained enough to conduct something, like the individual safety reports are processed within the system, or if there is a subject matter expert, so what are the trainings given to that person. So they'll look at the training records of all the personnel within the system, and they'll also look at what are the job descriptions. So this is very important. Like if somebody is conducting a particular job, so what is his job description? What is his roles and responsibilities? That should be clearly stated on the job description, because he should be conducting his activities according to his job description. And their CVs, their curriculum vitae, where it talks about their previous employment and what the person has handled and what is his qualification and all. So that will be reviewed during the audit and inspection. And they'll review the responsibility for overall study management and coordination when there is an clinical trial is going on. So how some activities within that trial are conducted, and if there are transfer of obligations and or process. Suppose for an organization, the people leaving the organization and new people coming into organization is always it's an usual thing. And if there is an outgoing person, whether he is handing over all the key processes to the new person properly or not, so those things will also be escalation of issues, problem resolution. Like non-compliance, like uh, example, reporting of adverse drug reactions led to health authorities, or if there is any escalation of issue. Escalation of issue within the system may be like when you get an adverse drug reaction having a patient's name on it. So that should be eradicated first to protect the confidentiality of the patient. Okay, so if there is an escalation like this within the system, so that should also be reviewed at, and how this is solved, how this problem is solved within the system, what is the process in place. So that will also be looked at. Next slide, please. And they'll also look at appropriate documented approval for key documents, evaluations, and decisions within the organization, and how any data is handled and how it is recorded and how it is retained within the system. Suppose an adverse reaction report comes to you, how it is handled, how it is databased, and how any record is retained within the system. So that will also be reviewed. And pertinent systems and processes, how they are connected and how it is managed. And if there is a system or program validation, suppose you have implemented a system like safety database, and that has to be validated first according to the requirements and how it is performed. So without this validation of a particular system within an organization will be considered as null itself. So that's a strict rule by the health authorities, saying that when any company has their system, so that should be validated first. Okay. And if there are any electronic records and electronic signatures, because now we are moving away from the vetting signature on any report or any document. So when we put a digital signature, so they'll also review that whether a digital signature is in a proper format or not, having a proper information in it, having the person's designation and the date and everything is proper or not. And they'll review data or system security. So this is very, very important because we'll be dealing with the patient's data. So that's a live patient data. And if something goes wrong with the system, IT system, information technology system, and if there is a leakage of the information to the public or to any institution or anybody, so that's again it comes under the um, system security. So this system security will be evaluated by the during the audits or inspection. And if there are any audit trails, because if an issue is raised within an organization, how something is managed, how it is escalated to a manager, to a senior manager, and to the director or anybody, and how this is getting solved. So whether this issue is raised in a proper format as agreed within the standard organization procedure. So any company will should be having this audit trail within their system. And again, quality management system. So quality is at par very important within the pharmacovigilance system. So all the pharmacovigilance system should have a proper quality management system within that. So this should be monitored and evaluated during the audits and inspection. And what are the quality control procedures? Because when there are more and more number of individual adverse drug reaction reports are received within a company, and many people are involved in it to handle that particular report. One person enters that report into the safety database, and other person reviews it, and there is one more physician who reviews it from the medical point of view. So when many people are involved in handling this particular report, so there should be the quality control process or procedure in place to handle this report in a proper format and report it to health authority. And they'll also look at AE reporting, adverse event reporting procedure, timelines, and documentation, whether we have documented it correctly or not. And they review the process for literature searches, local or globally, whether companies conducting a proper literature search or not, because uh, all the adverse reaction reports may not come from a consumer or the healthcare professionals. Company has to also perform the literature searches voluntarily, and they can also perform voluntarily the social media monitoring, so that if there are any particular adverse reactions coming out from the public, so they can pull into their system. And they can review the tracking of activities or compliance, like individual case safety reports, adverse reaction reports, and the labeling documents, whether they are properly placed and whether they are properly updated every year or not. And if there are any aggregate reports, suppose PSU or PADER or any aggregate reports, whether they're handled properly or reported properly with a good quality or not. So those things will be reviewed. And if there are any signal detection and safety review committees, okay, signal detection is again one more department within the pharmacovigilance system where they mainly look at the signal. Signal is something where there is a significant safety concern of a product which is not previously known, and there is a the serious problem with the safety of the product or the patients. So that thing will be handled by the signal detection committee or the safety review committees, and they'll also review aggregate reports. Aggregate reports are prepared on a particular time frame, maybe in a year or 2 yearly or 3 yearly. They'll prepare the aggregate reports of all the individual data which is received within that particular product. And product labeling control, because when there is a significant safety concern, okay, so then the product label also get updated every year, or when there is really a safety concern on a product. So whether this product labeling is also updated on a regular basis and stored in a proper format. And risk management planning, as I said, if there is a significant safety concern and the pharmaceutical company has to agree upon something and commit upon something, saying that how they are going to manage this safety risk, okay, how they are going to minimize this risk, and what are the monitoring activities they are going to conduct. So this should be properly um, reported and managed within the system. And if there is any issue escalation, or say if there is any issue identified, how it is going to be escalated to the manager or to the senior manager and to the quality assurance team, and next to the, if it is required, it has to be escalated to health authorities also. So what is the channel for that? So that also should be reviewed. And now we look at the preparation for the audit or inspection. So we talked about what is the importance of all this audit and inspection, but we'll in a real time how this is audit or inspection is going to be conducted within the organization. The first is the company or the organization will be notified. So this notification is usually sent to quality assurance team, QPPV, or head of pharmacovigilance. So it can all these people can be notified immediately when there is an audit or the inspection. Okay, the quality assurance team is the first team which should get notification, or the QPPV. This is the person, qualified person for pharmacovigilance should be notified first, or the head of PV. Okay, so all these people should get notified immediately, and upon notification of audit or inspection, ensure that their quality assurance department is aware of this, and senior management and QPPV is involved in the inspection. And if there are any third parties, suppose for there are some activities which are outsourced or contracted to some other people, so those people also should be get notified, saying that there is going to be audit or inspection happening on particular date, and their agenda is something like this. So all these people should be get notified who are involved in the system. Next slide, please. Okay, when we get notified, then how we are going to prepare. So what is the preparation we have to do? Because all the organization will perform the bulletproof preparation for any audit or inspection. So what is bulletproof? Like for anything, it's a normal human tendency that when there is a cold weather, so we wear sweaters or hand gloves, or we cover our ears and all to protect ourselves from the external forces. So how bulletproof you are, or how bulletproof your system is, so that should be your preparation to face any audit or inspection. And for that, what should be looked at? Okay, when you get notification from a, a regulatory authority or the auditor on the inspection or audit, so when you get notified, then there should be a pre-audit meeting with senior management and the PV team where appropriate to discuss the requirements. So you conduct a meeting first and discuss when it is going to happen and what is their agenda and what we need to prepare. So that should be discussed initially, and any pre-inspection communication with auditor or inspector will be reviewed by quality assurance or senior management prior to release to the agency. So if there are any pre-inspection communication that should happen, so that should happen through the quality assurance team. So it should not be like any member of the PV team should directly involved in the communication directly to the health authority. So it should happen through the quality assurance team. And in this preparation, like they might interview some people and you identify who are the key responsible people for particular process and assign roles and responsibilities. So what somebody has to do during an inspection or the audit. Okay, so we'll see in detail in the next slides. So during the preparation, we also look at our documents, whether they are correct, where they are updated, where they're stored in the proper format or not. And if there are any files, we look at whether they are complete or not. And we look at the third party agreements with some other companies. And if there are any electronic uh, repositories, whether they are complete or correctly structured or not. Suppose if I can give an example, when if there is a PSMF, pharmacovigilance system master file, when you have stored it uh, in the particular folder, but not in a proper format, you have not named it properly, and you have just stored it, and you have not updated it with a proper page number or not updated with a confidential note on this. So all this triggers a finding on a particular um, or a report or a file or document. And when you are using any Excel sheet to capture some data, so these trackers should be updated and there should not be any gaps, or it should not be corrupted during an interview. Okay, so when they ask us to show that, so we should be showing it without any hindrance or any hiccups on that. So it should not be it should not be corrupted by any system. And we also should be updating our curriculum vitae or job descriptions properly signed in a proper kept on a proper format, and any training records. If we are getting trained on particular you know new thing, so that should be recorded on a particular date, and it should be updated, and it should be complete and signed. So procedure binders up to date, and it has to be complete. Okay, and review previous audit or inspection reports. So this is also very important. Like if there are any previous audits or inspections when they are conducted, and what were the issues identified, and how these issues were what were the corrective and preventive actions we have taken for that, and whether we have completely uh, you know corrected it, and we have completely notified that to the particular regulator or uh, any auditor or not. So that should be reviewed. And once the agenda is received, when we received any agenda saying that what they are going to audit or the inspectors, so then we should review the agenda carefully, so what they are going to assess us, and identify key individuals for each session. So there will be a different session. Okay, so agenda will be having a proper note on different sessions and what are they going to review. So identify key individuals who will be attending that session and ensure availability of these key individuals. They should not be like we assign somebody and commit it, saying to the auditor or inspector, saying that this person will be available for the session, and that person should be available on that day, and ensure that files are reviewed and are complete. So this is very important. All our files should be reviewed and are complete when we are going to give it to auditor or the inspector. And if possible or if required, provide training to key individuals. When you identify key individuals and train them how to face the audit or inspection, what should be talked or what should be communicated and how it should be communicated, something. So that training should be given to these individuals. And be ready for pre-audit or inspection document requests, because for any inspection or audit, so initially they may ask for some procedures or documents before they actually conduct the inspection. So we should be ready with all those documents. So how this during the audit or inspection, how different activities are conducted. Next slide, please. Okay, there is a general format for audits and inspections. Okay, so there are mainly four which happens during. This is a usual thing which happens during an audit or any inspection. There will be a opening session, and there is a question answer session, and there will be a document review session, and then after the uh, audit or inspection, there will be a closeout session. So during the opening session, so they open up the audit or inspection, what are they are going to review, and in the question answer session, they'll interview some key individuals, and in the document review session, they'll review all the documents which they have asked for, and at the end they'll close out the session with their remarks. Okay, next slide, please. So the process, how something is conducted during this audit or inspection, they confirm auditors or inspectors identify by checking credentials, and all interviews should be accompanied by appropriate management or QA department. When there are inspectors within any organization, they should be accompanied by the senior management or the QA department. And observed deficiencies should be corrected if possible at the time they are discovered. If there are any issues found, so that should be corrected immediately. And all documents requested must be documented on the audit document request form, reviewed and approved by QA. If some inspectors ask you for some document, so that document should be initially reviewed and approved by QA, quality assurance team, and then only it will be submitted to the inspector or the auditors. Before that, if it's not acceptable that any person will be submitting the documents biasing the review of QA. So that is not accepted. So it has to be reviewed by the quality assurance team. Next slide, please. So all documents requested must be reviewed and approved by QA. Okay, and documents requested for review should be provided, retrieved, and returned to file as quickly as possible, because we'll be having so many files within folders or subfolders or anything. So when there is a request from any inspector, we should be easily identify any particular file, and as quickly as possible we should be getting it and submitting it to the inspector. And QA maintain a duplicate set of all the documents given to inspectors. When we give any document, so that document duplicate copy should be retained within our system. And if the auditor or inspector requests documentation outside of the scope of initial agenda, so then seek advice from the management or QA before giving access to such documentation. Suppose per se they have given in the agenda that they are going to review some process, and during the inspection they ask for some other document which is out of scope. So then that has to be uh, first initially contacted by the senior management or the QA, and then only it will be given to inspector. Uh, so when we are getting interviewed, when any person is getting interviewed by the auditor or inspector, so how the conduct should be. First, the person has to know the job responsibilities, what he's responsible for, and when answering questions, think before you speak. When they pose a question on us, so we should think for a while and answer, because when we answer something else in a hurry or when we are getting nervous, so we may give false information or give extra information which is not required. And be sure you understand the question completely before responding. Okay, this is very important, because we should not misunderstood the question and give some false information. So that's not also acceptable. If we are not sure about anything, so ask them whether could you please repeat the question, I did not understand. So that is okay, but we should not give a false information. And always ask for clarifying questions if needed, and be concise, truthful, and factual, and only answer the question asked. Do not volunteer extra information. So this happens quite a lot of times, because when we are getting interviewed, so we get a little nervous, or in tension we just give more information. Okay, and we should not be giving more information that also triggers some more questions on us. So we should answer what is asked to us, and be professional and polite. Do not argue or express frustrations. So do not argue with any auditor or any inspector saying that no, this is correct, what I'm saying is correct, so you can talk to our manager or something like that. So we should not arguing with those persons, and we should be polite on our answer. If we don't know the answer to a question, consult with QA. When you don't know answer to a particular question, so it is okay to say that you don't know the answer. Okay, so but we should not be giving a false information, false answers, and do not be afraid of silence. So this is because as I said, inspectors are trained on this, interrogating the interviewees. Like if there are any silences after you answer, so we should not get afraid that, and we should not also think that okay, whether I've answered it correctly or not, because they'll be just looking at our face whether we are confident enough to answer that or not. Okay, so this is during the question answer session. And when the audit or inspection is done, so there'll be a closeout session. So in the closeout session, there'll be a review of key findings. What are the findings they have identified, and they'll assign the gradings to that, whether the finding is critical, major, or minor. Okay, and take note of the findings highlighted. Where possible, address erroneous findings or provide additional clarification during the meeting. They take note on the findings highlighted and clarify how findings will be formally provided and to whom. So these things will be discussed, and confirm timeline for responding to observations. When there are any findings, so you confirm on timeline on which day you want to give information on that or not. So that will be discussed within the closeout session. So this closeout session will be conducted between the quality assurance team and the auditor or the inspectors, along with the higher management of the PV system. And post audit or inspection, when audit or inspection is done, so what is going to happen? Hold an internal meeting to discuss. So any organization, it is good to have an internal discussion, looking at what went wrong and where we were good at and what has to be improved, and if there are any findings on us and who is going to respond or not. So these things will be reviewed after the audit or inspection. Next slide, please. So the aftermath. So when the auditors or inspectors have done their part and went to their site, so what happens after that? Okay, next slide. When they go with findings, or they'll be having some recommendations or suggestions. So they will prepare a report, audit report or the inspection report, and they'll send it to the company or the organization. So when we receive this report, audit report, the inspection report, so we should review the report carefully, whether these findings are as per the closeout meeting or not, because we have discussed all these findings in the closeout meeting, whether these findings are proper according to the closeout meeting or not, and are there any new findings which are not discussed in the closeout meeting, and whether the gradings have been changed, because initially they'll be assigning some grading, major, critical, and minor, but now they have changed. Okay, whether they have changed or not, that should be reviewed, and determine who will manage the response to findings in the inspection or audit report and assign individuals. So when there are findings, so how whether who will be responding to those findings? So we should assign some key individuals. Okay, so those will be, we call them as kappa owners for a particular finding. Kappa is corrective and preventive action for a particular finding. So how we are going to correct it and how we are going to prevent it, and ensure findings go into the PSMF, pharmacovigilance system master file where applicable. Okay, where we'll have information of all our PV system, pharmacovigilance system. So all this information of findings should go into PSMF, and determine the deadline and responsibility for the reply. When they have sent the report, so they'll be saying within 2 weeks or 1 month or any particular time, so we should respond back to them saying that we have corrected it, and these are the preventive plans we have implemented within our system to reduce or minimize the finding. Next slide, please. So for each finding identified, so we should be assigning a particular kappa owner and set internal timelines and document completed actions. So this is very important. We should document all the findings, okay, and with the corrective and preventive actions as the evidence for a particular finding, and monitor progress of actions. So we should be, because we have committed saying that we are going to prevent the particular finding. So how this monitoring activity is going on, so that that monitoring progress of action should be documented, and determine how will effectiveness be measured and ensure it's measured, because we have identified something and we have said that we will prevent it. So how it is measured that this is reduced or this is minimized. So now the corrective and preventive action. Remember, some findings may be corrected in minutes, others will take days, weeks, or months, or even years, depending on a finding. And prioritize critical and major and minor findings. The critical findings should be uh, assigned first, and they should be, the kappa should be assigned first and they'll be conducted first. So this prioritization of critical, major, and minor findings should be assigned. And as findings are completed, ensure that they are removed from the PSMF where applicable. Next slide, please. Oh, okay, so we have come to an end of this session, and I'll quickly recap what we have discussed now. Like we have discussed about what are the differences between audits and inspection, and what are the types of inspection, and what is the purpose of conducting an inspection, and who will conduct it, uh, the for cause inspection or the routine inspection, and when there is an audit or inspection which is conducted within an organization, how an organization should be prepared, and who will be getting interviewed, and how we should conduct in front of any auditor or inspector, and when inspection is happening, what are the different sessions they are going to conduct: opening session, question answer session, then document review session, and then the closeout session. Report, face that report, and what are the corrective and preventive actions we should be putting in place to correct particular findings. So this is all about um, you facing the audit or inspection within any pharmacovigilance system. So I hope I covered most of the things within this say title. So I'm now open to any questions or answers from you. So if anybody is having any questions, please ask me. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Dear delegates, if you have any questions, you can ask now. You can also put your questions in the chat box. We will read the questions for you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from anyone?
I would like to inform our delegates that you can also contact sir through his email address or contact number if you have any queries or any questions, doubts, etc. So yeah, sir, Anand Kunchnu sir gave very overview of pharmacovigilance audits and inspections. It helped our all post-graduation students. They got to know what is the difference between audits and inspections and what are the different aspects in them and how to face these audits and interviews and all. So whenever we call industry people, this is the benefit of what we get usually. Uh, we will able to hear the things from experienced people, which usually we academic people don't know much about. We usually fail to teach our students certain aspects which are covered by uh, uh, resource persons like Anand Kunjnur sir. At the outset, I thank you very much, sir, for a nice uh, talk on pharmacovigilance audits and inspections. I thank you once again on behalf of KLE's College of Pharmacy and on my personal behalf for accepting our invitation and giving a talk on this topic today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Bona. And I personally thank all the staff of KLE College of Pharmacy for arranging this QIP session. And thank you all the delegates who have patiently listened to this session and expressing